Hey, Jim Toscano here, and welcome to the Monday night live stream, Filling in the Grooves. And before I jump into things, I just want to mention a few companies, Sabian Symbols, and the Sabian Education Network as well. I always mean to mention them. I used my brand new custom Sabian ride last night for the first time at the Landmark Theater in Port Washington, Long Island. First gig back in a year. That was amazing. So thank you, Sabian, for all your support and amazing products. Offset pedals, Pro Logic practice pads. Oh my God, these things. Love it, love it, love it. And of course, Black Magic Designs for my video switching and all that good fun stuff. Follow my link tree and my mailing list and all these goodies. But enough about me. Tonight I have a very special guest, and he really needs no introduction. As soon as I say the name, everybody's just going to fall on the floor. But tonight we have the great Liberty DeVitto on the show. And if you don't know who he is, then you've been living under a rock probably for your whole life. Amazing drummer. Definitely carved the styling of a lot of drummers by listening to him play over the years. I dedicated, shameless plug, a page to Liberty in my book, in my Filling in the Grooves book. And we're going to be talking about Lib's book, Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness. This is also on audio, so you have to get both. So what I do is I open it up, and I go like this, and I'm reading it while I'm listening to the audio with Lib reading the book to me. It's like having bedtime stories read to me. It's unbelievable. Anyway, without any further ado, here is Liberty DeVitto. Thank you. Welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, the book doesn't come with those green things sticking out of the top.
Wait, this isn't a bonus thing?
Yeah.
You know what these green things are marking, by the way, and I have to ask you about this, and kind of right out of the box. And right here it says My Drum Part 1.
Yes.
And there's these parts, My Drum. So what is the thinking behind that? And what is, it's talking about the format of this before we jump in. What is the idea behind the My Drum thing along with all the chapters?
Okay, the iDrum thing was one chapter at a time. It was written, actually, part of it was in a Modern Drummer magazine. I wrote this little article, and it was called My Drums. They really watered it down because I got a call, I forget who it was from, but they said, wow, this does not sound like the Lib DeVitto I know. We keep happy, always playing, always happy about life and everything like that. This is like, I'm telling you what my drums feel like, even on off days, So the chapter was the longest chapter out of the whole book. And it was Joe Bergamini's suggestion. He said, why don't we break it up and put it after each other chapter? When you're talking about your family, then there's a chapter about your drums. This is where you were at the time. This is, and every chapter it changes, and you follow along where I was in my life with my drums and how I feel about it. It's little snippets.
There's such beautiful little snippets, and I love that it's the way that it interjects throughout the book is such a great thing. And the first one, it's a history lesson on drums. I mean, it's such a great idea there, and it really does show the passion and the love of the instrument, right? So, and that's...
Yeah, I mean, how much more passion do you have to be marching off to war with a drum, and everybody else around you has guns, and you got bullets flying at you?
You're getting shot at, and you have... your only defense is your drumsticks and your drum. Yeah, and actually, Dom always said this. Dom Famularo always said, like, the frontline drummers, they're signaling the military, and they were the first guys to get shot because they were up in the front, right?
Right. That invented chaos. After the drummer went, it was chaos. It's like if the drummer falls apart on stage, it's chaos for the rest of the band.
Oh my God. So, man, I have to say, just a quick thing. We met at a Sabian Educate. It was the Sabian Education Network launch party at Drummers Collective, and it was Joe Bergamini was running the event, and everybody was there. Dom was there, and all the drummers from New York. We all came together to celebrate Sabian kicking off the education thing, which I know you've been active in that, and that's really appreciated. And also, you're a Sabian artist as well.
Yes.
And so we share that in common. And so it was just really great meeting you then. And then when I started doing these interviews, I just kept saying, man, I really would love to speak to you, especially when the book came out and I got the book. I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to really learn about you, the drummer, and about your life, which I think is really interesting. And anybody that doesn't have this yet, pick it up, because the stories, just kicking it right off with the family, the stories are so great. And just speak to maybe, the kind of early beginnings of, picking up the drums for the first time as a kid, and, sort of just the beginnings of it a little bit. And I know, it's all in here, but just,
it's all in that. Well, the book was written, actually, it started out as just a family history for my children. Oh. I wanted them to know where we came from, and what my father did, and how my mother's life was growing up and stuff like that, and how I was as a kid. But then after me and Billy split, I started to write about my time with Billy Joel, right? So, but I could have thrown a lot of people under the bus, of course, but right. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want it to be that kind of book. And what I did was I put myself in Billy's shoes. Why did he do the things he did? Even though it hurt people. I mean, the guy has had a career for over 50 years. Yeah. And, you have to, change personnel, sometimes, and it hurts people. You don't mean to hurt them, but it does. Right. So, but that's what the book is about. As far as my drumming goes, I always loved music. As a matter of fact, I used to mow lawns, and I used to take that lawn money and go to the pet shop that sold records in my town, Seaford, Long Island.
Pete's Pet Shop?
It was a pet shop, Pete's, yeah.
Yeah,
Pete's. I actually went to school with Alice, his daughter, Alice Pecoraro. And so I go to Pete's, and I would take that money and I'd buy 45s. So I had a love for music. Now, why my father bought me drums, I don't know, but my cousin was selling drums because he was getting new ones. So he had this a big bass drum with a canoe going down the river or whatever.
Oh, like the mural.
Yeah, the mural on it, and the heads on the tom-tom that were tacked. The head was tacked to the bottom. If I had that set now, it would be worth a lot of money. But
like the Chinese tom-toms, right? It had the tacks and
exactly,
the calf head.
Exactly. So later on in my career, I asked my dad. I said, "Why did you get me drums?" And his answer was, because they didn't make Prozac when you were a kid. So I guess that I was banging on everything, and loving music so much. And then when the opportunity came up that my cousin was selling a set of drums, my parents got them. And they in the beginning, I would play the records, and I wouldn't play in front of anybody. Right. My mother thought I was good, but I wouldn't play in front of everybody. I was very shy, so. But that was the beginning.
Before you got the real drums, didn't you have a toy drum set that your brothers kind of destroyed?
I got it for Christmas. This was the Christmas when I found out that, about Santa Claus, because I pulled back a curtain and I saw this little set of drums there. And they were made of paper, with a little pedal with a little red ball on it that you would hit the bass drum and stuff like that. Well, and my brothers, they saw a guy jumping on a trampoline on TV, and they actually used my bass drum as a trampoline. One brother went through the back end, and the other one went through the front, and that was the end of that. So it was a sad ending to that.
A sad ending to the paper drum set. But what's funny is in the book, you mentioned that, you kind of segued right into that they destroyed the drum, and then sometimes you were left home alone, and that you would get so mad that you went on the porch and you were throwing the lawn furniture off the porch into the front yard, right?
Yes. I didn't like when I would come home from school or something like that, and my mother wasn't there, because my dad worked. My mother wasn't there. And at times she would be there, but at times she would be driving down the street and see me throwing the lawn furniture, the front patio furniture onto the lawn because I was so mad. So yeah, I had a lot of energy, and I was trying to get it out. And that's why my dad said when he got me the drums, it was something I could bang on.
Right.
But I think my love for music was the main thing. So banging on the drums, it was a good thing. It was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And then like in the book, it says when I was sixth grade, when I got that drum set, I joined the sixth grade school band, and I couldn't do the buzz roll in the Star Spangled Banner.
Right. And what did the band director say to you?
He said, "Put the sticks down, DeVitto. You'll never do anything with the drums."
How, had you thrown that back in his face like years later,
Well, a friend of mine remembers the guy's name, and I don't even think he's alive anymore. But I wonder if he did know what happened and if he did follow the career.
If he knew your story.
Yeah, I don't know.
That just goes to show you don't let people discourage you, because imagine if you had quit because you had this, teacher that deflated your joy for it and made you quit. That would have been, what a horrible ending to the story. But the amazing thing is that you didn't let it affect you, right? You went on, you did your thing.
Yeah, well, other things, there was other influences as the years went by, and one of them was meeting girls in school. The girls liked the sports guys, and I couldn't play sports. So that leads me to the Beatles,
right,
coming on the Ed Sullivan Show. And there they were in black and white on TV. And the amazing thing that I got out of it was not only they did. If you listen to those videos now, if you watch the Ed Sullivan Show now, they were great, but not as great as listening to the records.
Right.
You could hear the bad mix on the microphones, and when the camera pans and goes over to Ringo, his drums get louder as the camera gets closer. Sometimes John's mic is on and Paul's isn't. That kind of thing. But the thing that amazed me the most, that I got out of it, was when the camera turned to the audience, and I saw all these girls screaming at these not that good looking guys.
That's right.
And then I looked at the room, and my sister and her friends were screaming at the black and white TV at these not that good looking girls.
God.
Okay, it's time to play the drums again, because I want to meet girls, and I think this could work.
This could work. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, that was the driving factor, right? It's really funny that, a lot of guys, generationally it changes, but like for you, it was the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I talked to Rich Redmond last week from Jason Aldean's band, and he said for him it was Stuart Copeland with the Police. Like, everybody had that moment where they saw the drummer and they were like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. And think about the clip of the Beatles playing Shea Stadium, where just it's so many screaming fans, mostly girls, that you couldn't hear the band.
No.
And the band couldn't hear themselves, right? It's so insane. So
it really is crazy. I just read George Martin's. He has two books. One is his early life, and it leads up to the beginning of him recording the Beatles, and then it goes on. The second book is all about the psychedelic years and all the falling out he had with the Beatles and getting back with them again. But there's one thing: when we watched that movie that Ron Howard did, and you listen to Hollywood Bowl when they're playing, the Beatles are playing, it sounds like, wow, this is unbelievable the way this is recorded. In George Martin's book, he talks about how they came home, and that Hollywood Bowl video was supposed to be released in England as a video that they would watch on BBC. But it sounded so bad that they went in the studio and overdubbed everything to it. And Paul, George says he was amazed at how Paul played exactly what he had played on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's why it just sounds so good.
Yeah. Paul, what a technician, right? And he could play drums.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of favorite drummers, growing up, of course, in the book you read about Ringo was the first one that I loved. Actually, my mother introduced me to Gene Krupa before
Oh,
the
really?
Beatles. When I had the old set of drums, she loved Krupa. She used to cut school to go see Gene Krupa play, and Frank Sinatra and all that kind of stuff. She was the one that loved music. My mother always says my dad was a square.
Wow.
My mom used to win dance contests and stuff like that. So Gene Krupa was her guy.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was her guy. So for me though, but then Ringo was the one that got me going again, and then Dino Dinelli was next
Right.
from the
But
Rascals.
you also mentioned though that you had sort of three early teachers influences, and you mentioned Fred Astaire.
Yes. Well,
Well, with
I
drum
mentioned that,
solos.
what I talk about, I don't care for drum solos.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That was about the drum solos.
I don't like them. You know, as a matter of fact, there's always been this battle of who's better, Buddy or Gene. I tend to lean towards Gene because I like music.
Right.
Buddy soloed a lot. Buddy did amazing things, no doubt about it. It was like he was a freak, on the drums. It's like try to compete with that, and you're heading for trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
even to this day, people still look at those videos of Buddy playing and the recordings and just go, I don't know how he did it. It's just amazing.
Right. But when I watch Gene videos, I can feel him more. I can feel him in the music. He's in the music. He's not on top of the band.
Right.
Even though it's a Gene Krupa orchestra or he's playing with somebody and he's featured, he's not on top of the band. He's in that band.
Yeah, there's
and
a feel.
The whole swing comes from him.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I always mention when we talk about Krupa, the matchbook solo, which is so crazy, amazing. The little matchbook thing from, right? Totally insane.
Insane stuff.
Being so musical with nothing, right? Just.
Yeah. And then Fred Astaire, where I mentioned him, my two favorite solos I mentioned in there.
Right.
One was Fred Astaire when he's just playing. He's playing on the tops of drums and he's tap dancing too, and he kicks the bass drum for accents.
Right.
Fantastic piece of film. And the other one was Buddy on the Muppet Show
with Animal, right?
Because he didn't. That was the drum battle.
Oh, right.
Where he's in the dressing room. He's playing on the walls. And he's playing on the platinum, and he plays on what's the one was the host, not Kermit, the other one. Beaker or something, I don't know, but he's playing on his head, and all that kind of stuff. I saw Dom Famularo once have a kid. He was teaching this kid at a clinic that we did, and he's teaching this kid. He tells this kid to come up, and the kid's wearing a baseball cap, and he says, "Okay, here, take the pad. I'm going to show you something." The kid holds the pad in front of him like this. And Dom starts playing on the brim of the kid's hat. It was the most amazing thing I had ever seen.
Typical Dom fashion.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great. Well, that's like when he did the clinic where I think Sam Milano was sitting next to him, and he's playing, and he pulls Sam Milano's pen out of his pocket, keeps playing, puts it in his other pocket. He does the whole thing. But that that influence comes from that fun, silly stuff, which you're making reference to solos that you like that were really performances and sort of captivating people. Not so much, it's all about them. It was about the show, right? So
yeah, I think a lot of drummers, you kind of shy away from that when you see a clinic and somebody's doing that, they're blowing up and doing all that crazy stuff. It's like you kind of shy away from that, like, well, I'll never do that,
Yeah.
Or, like I always say, like, I'm not really a drummer. I just play one on stage. Because the first time I ever saw a drum clinic was like one of those.
Yeah.
I was like, and I had gold records and platinum albums on the wall. And I was like, if that's a drummer, then I'm not a drummer.
Hey, man, your craft and what you've done on records it's like a masterclass in how to play for the song, how to play for the artist. I love that you talk about really knowing the lyrics, and when I've heard you say that in interviews in the past, it really made me think about that. And every time I do a session now or play with somebody, I ask for the lyric sheet up front. And you said that you use the lyrics to get more intimately acquainted with the song and also to grab the message and the feeling of the artist, right?
Right. You get motivated. I know. I learned that I learned that from how I had to practice. I didn't take lessons. I tried to, but it just wasn't my thing to take lessons, to sit there and I wanted to play like Ringo,
right?
So I practiced to the Beatle records in the beginning, and one of my favorite songs to play to was a song by the Essex called "Easier Said Than Done," because it had a drum fill in it on the tom that just went boom, bop, bop, bop. It was like that kind of thing. I loved it that it was there. So I would practice to that, but I would get lost not knowing where I was in the song because I'm not reading music or anything like that. So I figured, I'm going to learn the words to the song and I'm going to sing along with it.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that, like, when I'm singing to a Beatles song, it's like Ringo does a fill when the singer stops singing. Well, Ringo does a fill to take the band into another part of the song that's more exciting, like the chorus or the bridge. That's when he does his fills to go in there, And, I went into the studio with Billy and I used to get his lyrics. I didn't, the other guys were learning chords and writing out music and stuff like that. And I was getting his lyrics.
That's so smart.
How does this feel?
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do live, as far as that kind of feel, is you change songs. Like if you do 21 songs in a show, you're changing from a ballad, a real like honesty, to You May Be Right, which is just a fun club song.
Right.
You change that. Or the other way around, going from You May Be Right to honesty, the serious, or Good Night Saigon, where you're going to get serious now.
Right.
How do you come down from that, from You May Be Right? How do you come down to Good Night Saigon? You really have to get yourself in the mood.
I love that you said that if you can't sing the melody while you're playing the groove to a tune, then you're playing too busy.
Right. You're probably playing too much.
Right.
If you can't sing the song, you're probably playing too much. I heard a teacher say once, and I had to agree with him, that if you can say it, you can play it. You know that. You probably heard that.
I say it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who I stole it from, but I tell my students that every day.
Yeah. If you can say it, you can play it. Yeah. Well, if you could sing it, you're playing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's so great. So I kind of want to jump forward to, so you had your band, by the way, the Rogues, right? Was your first, yes. Like your first band. And there's a picture of you guys. You basically look like the Beatles.
Right.
You tried to emulate
sweaters.
Matching. Yeah. That's so great. Are there any recordings?
Yes, there is. I got like this acetate thing,
Yeah,
we used to go in the studio and then they cut a record for you and you took it home. Yeah, we were, I have the instrumental versions of us doing Wipeout and really fast too. Wipeout was really fast.
Oh my God.
Night Train, another Venture song, Diamond Head, Needles and Pins.
Wow. It's amazing that you have that. That you held on to.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, sort of fast forwarding, I just wanted to kind of get what you were feeling at the audition for Billy. So I know we're fast forwarding a lot, but kind of, so because you played with, your bands actually, and we should talk about Topper and kind of get that in there. But as far as when you got the chance to audition and you did some homework.
Yes. Well, I knew Billy because I played in a band called the New Rock Workshop. He was in a band called the Hassles. And we both played in the same club, the My House, that was in Plainview.
Yeah.
It was in a little shopping center in Plainview. It was an underage place. They didn't have a liquor license or anything like that. I saw the Fudge there. I saw the Soul Survivors there. We opened up for all these people, and we sometimes play with the Hassles. The Hassles would be the headliner, and we'd be the opening guys because we were the house band.
Right.
And it was enough to say hi to Billy in the dark as we passed. So I had heard him, and the thing that amazed me the most was that that I was into the band Traffic.
Yeah.
You know, with Steve Winwood and Jim Capaldi was the drummer in Traffic. And one of the first things I heard Billy sing was a song called Colored Rain by Traffic. And I thought, oh man, this guy's so hip. He's into like what I'm into. This is so cool. But so those years go by, and I have Topper now. Original band, doing all original material. Myself, Doug Stegmeyer, Russell Javers, and Howard Emerson. And Doug, we're playing clubs, right? Local clubs.
Long Island clubs, basically, right?
Yeah, Tabardale House in Wantor and some other place that you know, you play for the door, but you really end up owing the bar money.
Right.
You drank more than that you made. So we're playing all that stuff. Doug gets the call to go on tour with Billy for the Street Life Serenade tour.
Right.
Because Brian Ruggles, who was this Billy's sound man and still is from Syosset, and so was Doug. So they knew each other. So Doug gets the call. He goes on the tour. On that tour, Billy says to Doug, I want to move back to New York. He was living in California at the time, using studio musicians to record and a different band to go on the road. Says to Doug, I want to move back to New York. I want the same band to play with me in the studio and go on the road with me. And I want a New York style drummer, which meant, I guess, aggressive, hard hitting. And so Doug said, well, you know the guy. And he mentioned my name. So I went to Staten Island to meet them, you know, to meet Billy again. And we talked about my house and all that kind of stuff. And then the audition came, you know, because Billy was like, you know, the management wants me to audition people. And I think he auditioned like 5 drummers. And I went in there, I learned all the stuff from Piano Man and Street Life Serenade, played it. And then he said, you know, I'm going to do a new album. And what would you come up with? What do you think of these songs? And he started to play them. And he was really amazed at how fast I picked them up and you know, played along with them. And it wasn't for like, I'd say over 25 years that he did not know that Doug had slipped me a tape of all the new material before I went in there.
How great is that?
Yeah. It was so great that I remember when we did the Stranger album and he needed one more song. And I said, on that tape, there was a song called Everybody Has a Dream, but it was done in 6/8. I mean, it was done in a straight 4/4.
Okay.
Phil Ramone changed it to 6/8.
Wow.
In the studio. Yeah.
So after this audition, so Phil Ramone, that's the other thing. Talk about, so who got replaced to produce the record and Phil Ramone was brought in?
Well, Billy started to go in the studio with Jim Guercio. Jim Guercio had recorded Chicago, produced that, and he owned the Caribou Ranch out in I think Boulder, Colorado, something like that.
Right, yeah.
And beautiful place. And he was producing Billy with the songs that eventually got on Turnstiles. But the clientele he was using on drums and bass, Nigel Olsson and Dee Murray had just gotten fired from Elton's band. So he brought in Nigel Olsson and Dee Murray. Billy hated it, just did not like it, you know. So as a matter of fact, at one point, Elton sent Dee and Nigel flowers and a card that read, I heard you're playing with another piano player. You know? So Billy fired Guercio, and that took care of Dee and Nigel.
Yeah.
And came out to Long Island, and that's when I first got in. You know, so we recorded Turnstiles. It was myself, Doug, and Billy, just 3-piece, bass, drums, and piano.
At a studio in Long Island.
At
Ultrasonic or something?
Ultrasound.
Yeah.
Ultrasonic in Hempstead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we listened back, Billy would sometimes say, like, you know, I could use some guitar. We could use some guitar on this. And we said, we knew guitar players.
Yeah.
We know Russell and Howard. Come on in.
From Topper.
Yes. So Topper became the Billy Joel band.
So really, Billy just joined your band.
Exactly. Exactly. But you know what? He was smart in this way. Uh, we had been playing for years together. So people say to us, like when they hear tapes from the Turnstiles tour, after we recorded Turnstiles, then we went on tour. And like there's one, there was a WLIR tape that they did from one of the schools out on Long Island. And they always say, like, gosh, we're so tight. Yeah, of course we were tight. Me and Doug and Russell and Howie, we were playing for years before that.
Wow.
You know? So he just got this whole package.
Yeah.
Boom.
So the chemistry is like already there.
Yeah. Like Dylan with the band.
Yeah.
You know, they were tight when they came out and became the band because they had been playing together forever.
It's like Boz Scaggs plugging in Toto as his rhythm section, you know?
Exactly.
Well, you know what?
Exactly.
I want to jump into the chat just real quick. Take a moment just to like say hello, let some people say hi, and then we'll jump back into the conversation. I definitely have questions about some of the sessions and about drum parts in particular that I want to get to for sure. But I'm just going to read off a little bit of the chat. So Suzanne Barnum says, "Hi Liberty, hi Jim." Pat Ross is on the mend with his knee. I told you Pat was going to be in about his knee.
Pat, I wrote you, Pat. Are you doing the physical therapy? You
Pat,
better be.
You better be doing the physical therapy, Pat. You heard it from Lib himself. One of my young students, Lucia Rose Seminara, what a beautiful name, is in here, and she said, "Liberty, what drummer is an inspiration to you and why?" And we'll leave it at that for the moment because it's a 4-parter. So besides, because you mentioned, and I kind of know the answer to this, but you mentioned Ringo already. But who is your next real inspiration as drummers?
Dino Dinelli.
Yep.
From the Young Rascals.
And why?
Well, when I saw Ringo, he was part of a band. It was great, you know, but they were English and I'm Italian and I couldn't relate. The Rascals come out, and for those young people that don't know who the Rascals are, you know, they did songs of Beautiful Morning, Groovin', Come On Up, Girl Like You. What else? You Better Run. They wrote all those songs and did all those songs. They were hot. They were hot. And 3 of them were Italian. Dino Dinelli, Felix Cavalieri, and Eddie Brigatti. So
we can relate.
I can relate. And they smell like sauce coming out of the speakers when you had to see them live. Yeah. So, but Dino showed me that a drummer can be as much a focus as the lead singer, because the way he played and his aggressiveness, because they didn't have a bass player either. Felix played bass on the Hammond organ with the foot pedals. So he drove that band. That was the first time I seen somebody drive a band like that.
Yeah.
You know, and he did all the tricks, you know, twirling sticks and stuff like that. And when I met them when I was 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. They treated me like I was the excited fan that I was at the time. And I felt like I was at a family dinner with guys that, you know, with cousins that were older than me that knew more than I did. And I was just hanging on every one of their words.
How did you meet them?
They were playing at MacArthur High School in Massapequa. And me and my friends, the Rogues, went. And we got there early so we can get up front. It was kind of festival seating on the floor in the gym. And the Vagrants were opening up for them, another band that was a great band. Leslie West was in the Vagrants.
Right.
And the bass player forgot his bass. So they asked us, do you know anybody that has a bass? And we said, yeah, we have one. And we were rehearsing in my parents' basement. So they said, get in the limo and go get the bass.
Wow.
And I'll come back and I'll introduce you to the boys, meaning the Vagrants. So we go upstairs and we meet the Vagrants after we bring the bass in. And I'm looking across the hall in the school, and in the other classroom, there's the Rascals.
Oh my God.
I must have been drooling at the time because the guy says, do you want to meet them? I said, yeah, I'd love to. And that's how that happened. He took us over and introduced us.
Wow, that's amazing.
They were so kind. You know what? People like Dom says, they don't remember what you did or anything, or, what you played or stuff like that sometimes, but they remember how they felt about you and how when they left,
Yeah.
how you made them feel. And the Rascals did that to me. And so I take that with me, and it's always in my head that they were so kind to me. How can I not be kind to anybody?
Right. And
So,
unfortunately, there are definitely musicians out there that have been jaded, and a fan finally gets to meet them and they just crush them. And
right.
I just can't imagine, like, everybody comes from a beginning somewhere, right?
Right.
You have to remember that.
Even Billy Joel. now,
Right.
now Billy loves boats. He loves boats, loves fishing. That's his sanctuary when he wants to get away.
Right.
If you can be 10 feet offshore and you're in a completely different world than everybody else is.
Oh, yeah.
That's how he feels. He met Jacques Cousteau.
Wow.
Right? He met Jacques Cousteau. He went up to Jacques Cousteau and he said, "I'm Billy Joel. Can I have your autograph?" And Jacques Cousteau looked at him and said, "No."
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I don't even know what to think about that.
Yeah.
That guy was revered by everybody. I remember as a kid watching those on Channel 13 or whatever it was, watching these shows with Jacques Cousteau.
Right.
Oh,
Billy was like crushed, like, oh my God.
Oh my God. I'm going to grab a couple more of these comments / questions. John Gill says, "Hi, Jim. Hello, Lib from a former Long Islander from your hometown, Seaford." So John Gill's a great drummer and educator that now lives in Oneonta, but he's from Seaford. And he enjoyed the audiobook version of the book, especially your memories of the Long Island rock clubs. And by the way, for anybody that isn't familiar with Long Island, there's a whole history of Long Island in what you say in this. It's really amazing. Like, you really basically know the lay of the land. And it was really cool to listen to. And my grandparents and my mom's in the chat, by the way, come from Santa Mauritius. So Santa Mauritius, Long Island was my mom's hometown. Yeah. So let's see. Dean Kasparian's in here. How you doing, Dean? He said, "Rock on, Liberty. Carry on, Jim." Good to see you, Dean. Dean does a podcast as well. And Bob Sears is in here. Loves the book. Let's see. Larry Rizzo hanging with us. Rick Latham's in here. Hey, Jim and Lib.
Rick. I posted something. I posted a thing. I was in a band called the Funk Club when I was in Florida. But a bunch of guys, local guys. One guy had played with Mother's Finest. Another guy had played with George Porter. Different people like that. And we put together an album. And I used a track and did a thing at the Collective once. I did a drum player at the Collective. And I put it up on Facebook. And I said, "This is me, trying to do my best Rick Latham."
That's great.
Because he does such funky stuff.
Oh my God.
Every week is another video of him playing this funky stuff. And see, that's how I grew up and learned to play drums. I watched people like Rick, and I would listen to everything he's doing. And then one little piece would go like, "Huh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm grabbing that. I'm grabbing that right there. And I'm going to put it in my stuff."
Yeah. And man, he's playing so great. And he and I get on once in a while, and I was helping him work on his tech. In fact, I have a call with him tomorrow, and man, he's playing so funky and such great stuff. So glad you're hanging out, Rick.
We both have daughters named Tori.
Oh, that's so funny. So you have that in common. You have 4 daughters.
I do.
Wow. And I was telling you that one of your daughters is on in my living room every week, at least for now, on Chicago Med. Tori.
Yeah, she did like 5-6 years on Chicago Med, and she felt like it was time to leave, and they felt like, we kind of played out your storyline. So but she's doing great now. She did a movie, and she's moving on.
She's super talented.
She I get to meet all her boyfriends, right?
Oh no.
Some of them are actors, and one was on PD Blue, whatever it's called.
Oh, okay.
And another one. Another one was on Vampire Diaries for the longest time. This one's different.
Yeah.
This one is, and I hate to say this to my Yankee and especially Met fans, but this is the coach of the Chicago Cubs.
What?
David Ross.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Dad's approval? We got Dad's approval?
Yeah. I met him like the week before Father's Day. We went out to brunch. He came over here when they were playing the Mets, and the Mets actually took 3 or 4 from the Cubs. But so I met him, and I said when I was getting up to get the order and everything, and he started to try to give me money on his credit card, and I said, "No, stop, don't. I'm paying." He said, "Come on, please give me." No, I'm paying. I had to look at him and say, "I'm going to start to sing the Mets theme song if you don't stop."
That's great. Oh my God. Well, one of my longtime students and good friends, Vincent LaRussa, is in here, and he said, "Where did all the intensity come from in playing the drums?" Because you do play with a certain intensity that is sort of unparalleled. When people see you play, you feel it. You really feel it.
Well, that came from number 3 drummer. First it was Ringo, then it was Dino who showed me.
I know the answer. Carmine?
Carmine Apiece.
Yeah.
Carmine Apiece.
So when you saw him with Vanilla Fudge for the first time, did your jaw like hit the floor?
I got scared. I got scared. I thought, oh my God, this guy is so powerful. And still today, he's still when he smacks the snare drum,
oh yeah,
it's powerful.
It is.
And everything he does is clean and powerful, and he was the guy. He was the guy. I've known Carmine now. Let's see, I was 17 when I met him, and we're still buddies.
He's a sweetheart of a guy. I feel fortunate. I got to spend some time with him over the last year, helping him with tech and helping him get his stuff together. We just talked recently because he was doing a recording project that I'm not going to mention it because I'm not sure if the cat's out of the bag yet, but something that you worked on as well, and he was doing some recordings for, and so he's just a sweetheart of a guy, and he's got great stories going back about Brooklyn, growing up in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst, and I'm from Brooklyn, you're from Brooklyn. It's kind of fun having that common thread.
It's so much fun. Drummers have a camaraderie that I think other instruments don't have.
That is right.
Like one of my favorite people to hang out with is Bernard Purdy. I just love hanging out with him and hearing his stories.
Yeah. He's got good stories. He's a sweetheart.
You mentioned Rich Redmond before.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah.
Love him. He always posts pictures of him and his girlfriend. And I told him the other day, he posted a beautiful picture of his girlfriend. And I said, "Rich, I'm still waiting. I check the mail every day. I'm waiting for my wedding invitation."
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick Latham is another one. Even if I don't see him once a year, it's at the NAMM show.
Right.
It's great. Troy Luccketta, another one.
Yeah.
All these guys,
So true, just, man. I make this joke all the time on the show, but it's like, as drummers, we have this crazy, weird extended family. Like, there's no real competition. Like, we're all looking out for each other. And I always make the joke that, there's no bassoon players coming together the way drummers do. It's like no other instrumentalist has this sort of family, this everybody's got each other's back kind of mentality.
I spoke to Steve Gadd on the phone the other day because I did a signing at the Long Island Drum Center.
Oh,
and that was great. And Rob Wallace was there with me, and he had to talk to Steve. And of course, I got on the phone and just yelled at Steve. I said, "I'm here to do a signing at this drum center, and your face is on a T-shirt all over the store. I'm going to take them all down, Steve." But he was another one. He said to me once, he came to see us play with Billy up in Syracuse or wherever he was living, and I said, "You're so great, Steve." And then he said, "Well, you're great too, And he was the one that showed me that all us drummers all have something unique that identifies us.
Yes.
I can't play the the Purdy shuffle like Purdy plays the shuffle, and Purdy can't play Angry Young Man like I play Angry Young Man,
Right.
and, you know, like that kind of thing. We all have this thing that we all do, and we share with each other.
Right.
You know, that's what's great about it.
Somebody has a question, and I think you know him.
Oh my gosh.
What? Who's crashing the party tonight?
It's a good thing I didn't say anything bad about
Know
you.
him.
How are you, handsome?
How the heck are you,
Who's
Lib?
crashing the party tonight?
I'm good. It's good to see your face. How are you, handsome? We were talking. Why is there a delay? I'm hearing a
Dom,
delay.
do you have a speaker open in that room?
It's closed now.
Okay, good.
Okay, now there'll be no delay. Listen, we were talking about the drone over your studio. I watched it the other day.
I was like, oh, Dom's teaching drum lessons with drones now.
So you know when I talked about like taking something from somebody when I watched them play, the intro to Stormfront on the record, I just go boop blah. When I played it live, it was because I saw Dom do the thing with his foot when he goes brap. I saw him do it, and I was like, I'm doing that. I'm taking that. And it's become a big thing in my act, by the way.
You know, Liv, it always amazes me how you played every single gig, and I've seen you play well over the years. Every single gig, you always drive the band with 110% passion in every stroke you play. Every single hit is meant to be right where it is, and you deliver it like a true general laying down the plan for what's going to happen.
You know, it's funny because when people, we talked about Jim Chapin, and I used to say, Jim Chapin was like, when they say there was God and then God became man and became Jesus. And I say, there was the drum and the drum became man and became Jim Chapin. You know, and that you have picked up that legacy now. You, Dom Famularo, have picked up that legacy. There's the drum became man and it became Dom Famularo.
You know, I think back when you guys played Yankee Stadium, and you invited me along with you. We took the ride in there and played, and just to be able to witness that show and how you drove, 60 some odd thousand people in the audience. You played that show for the last person in the last row in the highest seat. That person was entertained equally to the person in the front row.
Yeah, that was my idea of like, they pay a lot of money to get in. They want to see something. They could have stayed home and listened to the record. You got to do something special. Just like, and it shows your personality. You're showing that you love what you're doing and that you love to play for them.
And think about like back in earlier days, there were no ginormous LED screens with videos of the band. You didn't have those close-up shots. So you were really playing to the person in the front row and to the person in the back of the house, really, truly trying to play to that person, right?
Yeah.
But that's what Lib does so well. And even in the trip when the band went to Russia, and in that Russian show, Lib, you had American flags everywhere, man.
Everywhere.
Right.
And with the intensity of that musical, delivering of freedom of expression, Lib really delivered that level of freedom of expression while they played drums. People were blown away. I went to Russia several years later, and everyone said, listen, we saw Billy's band came out, Lib on the drums, Lib was the show, and Lib just kind of guided us along the way. I mean, it was just amazing that people felt and heard that level of passion.
Well, Billy wanted me to tone down all those flags. He thought I was going to become the ugly American to them.
Yeah.
But when the translator for Billy, I had seen him 25 years later when we did the documentary about us going there 25 years later, how it affected us and how it affected them. He said to me that when my arms going and me playing the whole feel and how it felt and everything, that flag that was on my chest represented total freedom because they were not allowed to do that. He said one thing that a drummer does that other instruments don't do is we think outside the box.
Yeah.
Because that's where our creativity comes, thinking outside the box. He said, in Russia, they're not allowed to think outside the box. They have a hard time doing that, thinking outside the box, not conforming to what's on the paper or not. Dom said it best once. He said, when I put a book for Hudson, for DCI, it was Music Minus One.
Yeah.
And Dom went over it, so all the writings, the notes were written out and everything like that. And then he got to the back, and there's those 2 white pages. And he goes, you know what these are for? These are to tell people, now it's time for you to start to create. Right. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, but it really was, because what you did is you really are your own sound. You are your own entity. You are your own brand. You really have laid down how you play is who you are. And listen, it's not just Billy. Lib has done many dates. I mean, Paul McCartney, you're talking about, he's got a legacy of many other artists that he's played with, that he's done the same thing. The same Lib DeVitto played on all of those recordings that was on stage playing with Billy Joel. So, I mean, you really just stayed consistent. This is who you were. You spoke the voice of who you are, and that's what you plowed through every performance.
And nobody sounds like you. What you were talking to before about everybody having their unique thing, nobody sounds like Lib DeVitto. Nobody.
I've been compared to one guy, Kenny Aronoff. But when I listen to him, he's totally different than I am.
Yeah. They're very different.
We just are aggressive. He's very aggressive too,
right.
Kenny.
But your sound is your own, and nobody sounds like you. And, it's that uniqueness that you brought to the table that makes everybody else who was growing up listening to those records want to emulate that and want to bring their own thing to the table.
The other jazz drummer that I always say Liberty sounds like in the way he drives it is Sonny Payne.
Yeah.
Only because the way he sets up the band and the way he just pushes everyone to want to keep on pushing themselves, that's what Sonny Payne did with jazz, with Ellington and all those bands. Lib does the same thing in the rock, pop genre. And the fills have that same kind of you set it up. It's almost like you have an 18-piece big band behind you when you're playing. It's got that kind of sound coming out. It's so incredible.
Well, I think I told you this. Sammy Kahn came to see us play once in England. And after the show, he came backstage and he said to me, he said, I have never seen a drummer take control of a band like you did since Sonny Payne.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting. And for those listening, do the research and go find out who Sonny Payne was, because you'll see that this concept is you can be influenced by someone, but yet not sound like them, but you can take qualities of how they deliver their music, which is what you did, Lib. You deliver it in your way, your sound, and so many drummers out there now, internet, YouTube, whatever you want to, everyone sounds the same. Everyone's sounding the same. They set up their drums the same way, and the way you hit. Listen, I remember that Tama they had to weld the end of the cymbal stand. He didn't crack cymbals. He cracked the mount that was holding the cymbal on the stand. The whole metal would break. And so it wasn't a matter of just replacing a cymbal. The whole stand had to be, his tech had the boom cymbals on the stand in the same position. That thing broke. That next one went right in. And when I looked at it backstage, the freaking metal, it looked like someone took a freaking welding torch to it.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right.
Incredible. And then Tom, eventually what they did, they welded something together. They made something.
They used titanium for some of them.
Yeah.
But
Oh my
it was
God.
getting too expensive. It was like 50 something bucks for it, just to, something ridiculous. I was thinking, Dom plays so unique. I do, you do. It's like when you see young people learning these things, and it's like they do something that's so common, and they say, well, you don't do this, Phil. It's like, well, why should I? If it was so difficult to do, why can everybody do it? And everybody does it now. Somebody once told me, I said, I can't do that bottom thing, that I can't do that. And the guy looked at me and said, You don't have to, it's like a lot of people, like you say, imitate first, right?
Right.
And then learn it, and then make it your own.
It really is. Imitation happens first, then assimilation happens when you kind of take it in. Then from assimilation, it goes to innovation. And you are exactly that example. You imitated many of the young drummers growing up because your school was listening to recordings. You are a library and a history of drummers, drum fills, and recordings, and knowing what to play where. I mean, literally, those recordings taught you the understanding of how drums should be played in popular music.
Right.
That's incredible, that process. But Jim, what's interesting with Liberty is I was able to witness. It's not just the playing end; it's the creative end.
Right.
That there's got to be a creative end. So, for example, the song "Downeaster Alexa," when that thing first came down, I think when I was there, Billy had said, he wanted some kind of watery kind of music, and you started playing like a calypso feel.
Yeah, right.
And then Billy said, "Wrong color water."
Right.
Now, I'm sitting on the side and I'm saying, what the freak is this guy talking about? The Dark Atlantic. And then you came up with the way that he wanted the diesel engine and the way that was pounding. The groove on that tune absolutely dictates what Billy requested. So listen, that in itself, forget about just knowing the instrument. Now you got to step further out of your mind to try and translate what someone else is trying to pull out of you. That's a whole other world.
Right.
Right.
I want to mention. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was really moved the other day. Peter Erskine wrote something about "Just the Way You Are." It just like blew me away. I mean, there's somebody that's so great. And, and then what's his name? The percussion player. The drummer that plays with his cowbell on his foot.
Horacio Hernandez.
Yes. He wrote underneath it in the line there. He wrote about seeing Peter open up the Cuban Jam. The Weather Report went on first, and 5 days later we went on last. And he watched that as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
We're all tied in. I know, Dom, how old were we?
We were
16, 15.
50 plus years. I mean, going back as we were kids.
His cousin,
my uncle Lou,
owned the dry cleaners in the town in Seaford. and that's how I met Dom the first time. And I ended up playing at weddings with Uncle Lou, a couple of them.
It was amazing. And there was a club in Lindenhurst called the Narragansett Inn.
Right.
No longer there. They leveled it, but it was a catering hall that had several different rooms, 10 different rooms for weddings, and there'd be 10 weddings going on. And Lib was in there playing with my uncle's band, doing his thing, and I'd be with my bands that are in there. And when dinner happened, we all had time to hang together. So it was just a great working scenario. And I remember when Lib said, I got this call to go out to California with this guy, Billy Joel, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to do it. We were like, man, what are you, crazy, man? You got to go and do this, man. This will always be here. And, the rest literally is history.
Yeah.
I just wanted to reference a couple songs. I wanted to say that Summer Highland Falls, which is one of the simpler, really just feel-oriented things, I think the playing on that is really beautiful. So anybody that's in the chat, if you don't know that one, go listen to it. But the way you set up the little Tom Phil entrances, it's just so pretty. And I give it away in the book. Yeah.
Right.
And that was the second transcription in my book. That Phil, Summer Highland Falls, right there, because that's kind of what helped me sculpt ideas for working with songwriters, is that kind of playing and that kind of intention. It's just really beautiful.
That Phil was to impress a girl that I like, because it's actually the Phil that what's his name, Jim Gurin played with
Johnny Gurin.
Johnny
Gurin.
Yeah.
He does that Phil in the beginning of "Help Me" by Joni Mitchell.
Oh.
The guitar goes help me out.
Oh, wow.
And that girl loved Joni Mitchell. And I said, okay.
Wow.
I got the place for you.
Interesting enough, at the NAMM show, I took a couple lessons with Johnny Gurin many, many years ago when I was living out in California in 1976. And I had met Johnny Gurin at the NAMM show one day. And Lib, you were there walking around one day. And we walk in and he goes up to me and he goes, Dom. I said, Johnny, good to see you, man. At the time he had cancer, so he wasn't looking that well. And he goes, I give him a hug. I said, how you doing? He goes, oh, I'm doing the best I can. He goes, listen, I want to talk to Lib DeVitto. I said, well, he was just here a few minutes ago. He said, man, I love his playing, man. He just lays it down. I got to talk to him. So I'm not sure if we ever made the connection because NAMM show was crazy, but that's the kind of influence that you have on certain people that you might not even know that you're inspiring other drummers on what they're doing. It's pretty powerful.
Well, the amazing thing to me is that the last NAMM show we were, I saw Zigaboo from the Meters walking down the hall, and I went up to him and I said, Zigaboo, it's great to meet you. I'm Liberty DeVitto. And he was like, I know who you are. He said to me, he goes, you took rock drumming to the next level that these guys have to follow now.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, to me, it's amazing when somebody knows what you've done. You know, I mean, Dom, I can say the name Dom Famularo and everybody knows who he is. You know, it's like whether he met the person or not, everybody knows who Dom Famularo is. You know, the global ambassador to drumming. He is the drum.
That's because I owe everybody money. That's why.
That's why.
Yeah, but Lib, I would say that most musicians know who not all musicians know who every drummer is. But I think that Liberty, most musicians know who you are. Talk to guitar players, bass players, singers, because you play for the artist. You play for the song. You're not up there as a self-serving drummer. You're playing really for the lyric.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
We did a one of the sessions panels. We did a NAMM show, and we had Jim Keltner, Steve Lukather, Leland Sklar that were there, and they all, not only did they know of Liberty, they knew the tunes, they knew certain fills, they knew specific things about what he had done that had been unique, which I thought was just, I said, that it's so powerful. You know, Steve Gadd once said, I said to Steve Gadd one day, I said, Steve, what is success to you? Is it money? Is it fame? He goes, no, I think success is when you walk into a room and people know you and they don't have to ask, what have you been doing?
Wow.
That's really what, Lib, you have. You know, people, they know what you're doing. And now with the book that came out, the book is absolutely fantastic, man. It's required reading with all my students.
Yeah.
Because we're using the book to do research of the tunes now. When you go back and explain the tunes, they go back and listen to it, and now they study the song, and then it brings them further into the song and what you were thinking and what you went through in the creative process. There has not been a book written like that I know of for sure.
No.
You know, it's funny because I got a lot of people have written me and said I would read that part and I would listen to the record. Read the next one, listen to the record, you know, to hear like an insight, like you're there now.
Yeah, it's like the companion to the record. That's amazing. Yeah. By the way, I stole the fill in Close to the Borderline. And it's a total nod to you. I did it on the artist that I work with all the time, Roger Street Freeman. He's a songwriter. And I basically lifted, not the whole fill, but the beginning of Close to the Borderline, the way you were repeating that. Right? So it's like going across the bar line. So I totally ripped that and put it on the record, by the way. And then, but what made you come up with that fill? Because that's a really unique fill.
Well, Billy said to me, he goes, I wanted people to try to figure out where one was, and it would drive them nuts.
Yeah, it screws with our singer all the time. Every time I do that thing, he's completely lost. So I have to basically cue him. Oh, that's great. So, and another thing, and this is coming up in the questions, Lucia once again asking. By the way, Lucia says, "How you doing, Dom?" Dom knows Lucia now. She was saying she wanted to know about Only the Good Die Young, and I've heard you tell this many times and the explanation of it, but just the first thing she was asking is, why did you go to Brushes on that tune?
It started out as a reggae tune. When I first heard it, we were on the road in Knoxville, Tennessee, And I had gone to see the circus. As a matter of fact, me and Brian Ruggles, the sound man, had hung out with the circus for 2 days. We went on the railroad cars and all that kind of stuff. We come back, and Richie Canada comes running up to me and says, Billy just wrote this new song. You got to hear it. You won't believe this. Billy comes in the room. He's got an acoustic guitar, and he starts playing it reggae. Come out, Virginia, right? So my first thing was like, Billy, you can't say that about the Catholics. Come on, you can't do that. You can't do that. Being growing up Catholic, I thought that this is kind of weird that he's talking about Catholic girls and being the first one to do it. And so anyway, we go into the studio, and it's still reggae. Finally, I get frustrated, and I go, you know what? The closest that you have ever been to Jamaica, Billy, was on the Long Island Railroad. It stops at the Jamaica station, and that's where you change trains to go on.
Oh, that's
the closest
great.
you ever been to Jamaica. And I think I tossed my sticks at him and I said, forget about it. So I was thinking of great fills and what could make this song like just swing. And Paul Simon actually came in the studio that day, and he also said, like, if you come up with a groove that's insane, the lyric will go right over people's heads. So I thought one of my favorite grooves is a song called Up From the Sky by Jimi Hendrix. It's on the Axis Boulders Love album. And it starts with that fill. And I just started to play that because I'm in the room, I'm sitting with my drums, I pick up the brushes, I do this, and Billy starts to sing Only Good Die Young. And it's like, you hear Phil press the button. That's it. That works. That's it. So it's like, channeling other drummers. Always channel other drummers, I mean, how many things can we actually do on the drums? You can play single strokes, press rolls, and double strokes, exactly right? Yeah. So, like I say, a good drummer will borrow, but a great drummer will steal.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing because it's one thing about knowing the instrument, but then it's knowing how to a certain degree, what Lib does is he's composing a drum part for that tune. It's not even so much about playing a drum beat to the song. He's composing, this is composition, is composing all those different sounds. He's organizing the sounds and the rhythms to fit that tune at that spot in alignment with the vocal, which is the lead part of what's happening. But even behind soloists, Lib knows how to drive a soloist, and just get behind him and push him within the groove that he's playing. That's a whole nother skill base. That really is.
By the way, you kept the one drop in the groove, which is so cool because you kind of kept it in the reggae vein almost, even though it's a sort of brush swing thing on top of that. I remember, playing that tune in, on weddings, and the guys in the band not realizing that, that's what the drum part is. That's really crazy, amazing drum part. So it's such an original thing, and it totally drives the tune, even with the brushes.
The problem with that was that when you play an arena or a coliseum, you can't. The brushes don't translate. So I had to go to the. So
do you do it sort of like almost train beat style, swung kind of train beat thing, or you go to the hat?
No, I shuffle with my foot. So my foot's going boom, 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 boom.
Oh, okay.
Hit the tom and the snare at the same time.
Yeah. Wow.
Even that takes tremendous, drumistic skill to have that bass drum driving it. That's like a bass player behind you, kind of just driving you the way it's going, and then you can color on top of that. That's a powerful foot with your hands, molding what you're playing. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, just real quickly, so Brian Yerkins is here saying hello and saying that your drum parts are the reason those songs are so iconic. Kelly Ray Tubbs is hanging with us tonight.
She's great.
Ross Amoroso's hanging with us tonight. He said that the Rascals were the Italian Beatles. Anthony Cusina's hanging with us tonight. Joey Pinto's hanging with us tonight. Lots of vowels tonight. Verbis Diablo, who has been in all my live streams lately. We've never met, but Verbis Diablo is here. And then there is a question. John Gill said, how did you come up with the groove for Just the Way You Are?
Well, that was originally, we were doing that on the Turnstiles tour, Just the Way You Are. We did Just the Way You Are and Scenes from an Italian Restaurant and maybe something else. Get It Right the first time, I think we were doing. And that, I didn't want to, see, I tried to write this and I was going to do it for Modern Drummer. And then I thought, forget about it. But I wanted to write the evolution of a drum beat.
Yeah.
There is, Bob Marley did No Woman, No Cry on Whalers album. It was up-tempo, very up-tempo. Then when he did it live, the one that was the hit that's in your jukeboxes, it's very slow. And it's just... Dun, 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 dun. Then there was Killing Me Softly.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, one drop, right?
The one drop, there it is. Boom. So on the Turnstiles album, there's a song called James, and I play the one drop on James. James, boom. This was becoming the feel of the '70s too. The one drop, for that kind of pop, but kind of jazzy, smooth jazzy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I started the one drop on the Just the Way You Are, but it wasn't happening. There wasn't enough movement. It needed more movement because the lyric was just, don't go changing, pause. To try and please me, pause.
Right.
You never let me down before, pause. Right? So I'm playing the one drop, and Phil Ramone is listening. Really, he listened intensely. And I could see him through the glass going like this. Just making that move, like, boom.
Yeah.
And so I started going, and that was it. And now it's like the drums, the thing that I was able to do with Billy Joel was almost be the soloist. Like I was the guy that filled in when he stopped singing rather than a guitar player. You know, it would normally be like, don't go changing, to try and please me, you know. No, it was me, you know. Boom, boom.
Right,
you know?
right. Oh man.
Little tasty fills. Running on Ice is another one when he sang Running on Ice. So you know that was me actually doing my best Stuart Copeland, because the song was actually written in the vein of Sting, because that's what Columbia Records wanted for a movie called Club Paradise with Robin Williams in it, and so we had to channel our best police at the time. But I do the fills when he stopped singing again. I did a lot of that. Like I was the guy. There was piano and drums, vocal and drums.
It's really thoughtful playing. Really, really thoughtful playing.
You were always very aware of the lyric. I think that's something which is very important. The lyric was what the story was about. And when you filled in certain holes, you filled in the hole that complemented the lyric of what was happening. So that's a whole nother level of study.
Right. From watching you and Dom and doing, how many clinics did we do in that one tour?
A lot of them.
A lot of them
Wow.
together. Watching you, I came up with the thing like you're getting dressed to go out, and you got on this great pair of pants that you bought in the store today, and they fit perfectly, and you're ready, man. You want to kill when you go out. Now you got to get a shirt. The shirt has got to be perfect for those pants. You got 75 shirts in your closet. Not every one of those shirts is going to match those pants. That's the way it is with music. You've got this great groove going on. Not every fill that is going to fit in that groove.
Right, that's right.
So
that's a great analogy.
Dom explains that perfectly.
It's interesting. There was you were doing an album, and Billy had taken over on Shelter Island. He took over like a lobster. Was like I think it was a lobster barn or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
They stored lobsters in. It was like a cement pool, and when they caught lobsters, they put lobsters in there, and it was empty. And Billy took it over and turned it into a recording studio. And I was able to go out there and witness a couple of days of them recording. And what was amazing is they do a tune like 5 or 6 times in a row. And as I'm listening to it, the drum part in any one of those takes was so precise and so exact, you could have put them anywhere in what it is. You delivered it exactly the way that it was composed for what it had to be. And if a guitar player made a mistake or something like that happened, they'd cut, they'd do it again. Liv delivered it again exactly the same way. And it was just really, again, something else to watch. I said, man, talk about consistency in playing. That in itself is, at some point you get tired, you start to change it. You don't play the hi-hat part exactly the same. You freaking nailed it like it was exactly the way you wanted it to happen.
I remember that. You came out with Jim.
Yes, go get James.
Oh, wow.
James.
You noticed two times, Jim like just blew me away in a way that nobody else could blow you away the way. One was like at that session, there was a practice pad there. Oh, he always carried the practice pad on his own with the
he had it with him, yes.
And everybody was looking at him like, Jim Chapin, okay, look at this old man here. And I just took the pad and I held it in front of him and said, go, Jim. And he just started to solo on the pad like crazy. Everybody was blown away. Another time was the first NAMM show I ever went to. You and Jerry Ricky and all those said, come to the NAMM show. You got to come to the NAMM show. Okay, so we're all sharing rooms. And, Jim is in the shower. And there's a knock on the door. And the guy says, I want to see Jim Chapin. He said he was going to show me something, as far as my drumming goes. Jim, there's a guy here that wants to see you. Jim comes out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around his waist and a practice pad and sticks. He's showing, the door is open. Somebody's holding the door open for him. He's showing the guy on the pad what he wanted to show this kid, right? Meanwhile, the towel is unwrapping from around him. It falls to the floor, and he continues to play, totally naked.
Oh, my God. Oh. Well, that's one I've never heard. That was...
There's many people haven't heard, man. But we were so busy laughing, and again, it didn't faze Jim at all. What was important was to show this kid the movement that this kid wanted to learn, and the kid was enthralled because the kid was focused on Jim's hands. Thank God.
Thank God. Oh my God! Yeah. By the way, my sister's in here and my mother's in here. So
sorry, Mom.
The family's hanging out. Oh my God! And by the way, going back to the Narragansett Inn, Don O'Keefe says he got married there. So just letting us know that. And Susan Barnum said that her maiden name ends in a vowel. Loves the Italian stories. Oh my God!
I went back to the assisted living house where Sonny D, who I played with a lot over there, he was there, and I got to see him before he passed away. He passed away about a year ago, and he was thrilled at what had happened to me. Like going from the Narragansett to Billy Joel.
Yeah.
He was like he was like hugging me, like, I'm so proud of you. You're so, it was so great. Those players, they taught me more than anybody else ever taught me.
All the different style of music that we had to play years ago. Years ago, you played a jazz tune, a Latin tune, a merengue, a mambo, a Peabody, rock tunes, ballad, disco. Yeah, there was so much stuff going on at that time that really kind of gave us the fuel for all these different ideas of what we had in playing styles of music.
Exactly.
It's amazing. But Liv, you were a part of all of our lives because of having worked with you and having known you and got to it. When that happened and you hit that level of, I remember the first time on Saturday Night Live, there were a bunch of us that got together. That was an event. We said, we got to go buy Libs on Saturday Night Live. And we went on there, and every time the camera showed you, we all roared. We were like, if it wasn't on you, we calmed down. As soon as the camera went on you, it was a part of that you took us all on this journey of this success of knowing someone that totally followed his dream and pushed it as hard as he could and traveled around the world and even getting into. Listen, you guys were in Russia. Wasn't that long after you guys left Russia, the freaking wall came down.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
How amazing is that you were one of the first American bands to play there, right?
Yeah.
During that
Yeah,
time.
first full production. Yeah.
Full production.
First ones.
Your name is Liberty, by the way, and while all this is going on. And then just a quick thing. I've heard you tell this story, but there's a gentleman that you gave him your cymbals.
Yes.
Can you just tell that story briefly about that's amazing, that story.
There was, we got to see a couple of Soviet bands. Stas Namen was the big name there because his father was in the KGB, and so he was allowed to do whatever he wanted. But there was other bands, too, that we got to see that really didn't have any equipment or anything like that. And this one guy I went to see, his cymbals were like terrible. Probably Gad could have used them because he uses that broken cymbal. But anyway, I told him, I said, at the end of this tour, before we go home, I'm going to give you the cymbals. You come, and I'm going to give you the cymbals. So after the show, my tech takes the cymbals off, and we give him the cymbals. He gets stopped on the way out carrying the cymbals because in the Soviet Union, if everybody couldn't have it, you couldn't have it. Yeah. That's the way they were. So they weren't going to take the cymbals from him. And he said, no, you don't take them. They're broken. And they asked him, well, where are they broken? And he said, there's a hole in the middle of them. They're broken. And they went, oh, okay. And they let him keep the cymbals.
How amazing is that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But see, that's that brotherhood. That's that camaraderie. That's that family that we have. This guy, to you, you were never going to see him again, probably. And you helped him out, gave him your cymbals. That's amazing.
I mean, the camaraderie, like, Dom, how did Jules get 525, 550? How many drummers are in that book?
About 550 drummers that she put together in the book Sticks and Skins, which anybody should own the book, sticksandskins.com. The N is just an N. Sticks, the letter N, skins, sticksandskins.com. Go there. You can pick up the book. There it is. You can pick up the book.
There it is.
$25. It's got 500 drummers. And that book is now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's in the Smithsonian Institute, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the Grammy Museum. And Jules Follett, the angel that she is to all of us, organized all these different drummers to get them in there. And one of the gentlemen that's in the book that unfortunately we just lost a month ago was Roger Hawkins.
Yeah.
From Muscle Shoals and all that. And I had a chance to speak to him a few months before he passed away. I was trying to do an interview, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do it. And there's Lib, man. There it is, man. Woo!
So great, man.
Yeah, Roger, when I spoke to Roger, he started singing Only the Good Die Young or Still Rock and Roll with Me. That's what he was saying. He was going, that's so good. You're playing Only the Good. How do you know that? You're Roger Hawkins. Dino did that. Dino did that to me too.
Did he?
Who?
Dino Danelli.
Yeah.
He started to interview me. It's like, wait a minute.
Oh my God.
Dino was one serious drummer, man. He really was someone that was special. And for people that don't understand Roger Hawkins, go watch the Muscle Shoals documentary. That's on, I think it's on Amazon Prime. Muscle Shoals, Schoals, and go watch that, and they'll know who Roger Hawkins was. But Roger studied music, and he knew your stuff, man. He knew all of your stuff.
Yeah, amazing.
That's
and
another.
Hal Blaine, another guy that was a huge fan of yours. Holy mackerel! Hal was like when I interviewed Hal, he was telling me, man, the way Liberty plays in the place, and he started naming songs, and he's going to. This guy was like freaking 89 at that time, and he was that sharp to know the stuff that you had done. Pretty powerful.
And I am honored to say that I played his last live show with him when we did the Ronnie Spector at the NAMM show.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hal Blaine, and again, Hal Blaine, to study Hal Blaine, go check out The Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
Those two documentaries
great documentary.
Are amazing. The Muscle Shoals one is incredibly moving the way it was made, and the Muscle Shoals one, my hand technique workshop masterclass thing, I made a night where all we did was watch that. Like, on a screen in a room where I rented a building, and I made all the students watch that movie. And the Wrecking Crew one is another one that's really incredible. Everybody should see those.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Man. Well, I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
There's got to be a documentary that's done, Lib, about you. Something that could that could have gone through with photos and video of just, from a drumming standpoint. I think that's something that we got to link it to. Maybe we need to talk to Denny Tedesco, who did the Wrecking Crew, and see if we can pull that one off. I think that would be fantastic.
Yes. And by the way, if you get Lib's book, there's a code in here. So you go to hudsonmusic.com/Liberty when you buy the book, and you put in a code, and it opens up bonus pictures. So there's all these great photographs. It's called fan photos, I think, and you can see all these great photos from sessions and shows and just behind the scenes kind of stuff. Really incredible.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What an incredible career. And the book is great. As I said, it's now required reading with my students. Because it really opens up their minds to understand what it takes to really be focused on this craft at a high level.
Last question from the listeners, by the way. This is actually my neighbor who's not a drummer. He's not a musician at all. He's a retired police officer, in fact. And I know your father was a police officer. And his question is there one video that he can watch that you would want him to see or hear that you feel you're the most proud of or that represents you the best?
That's tough.
There's several of them.
I mean, he could really watch any Billy Joel tour DVD probably and see the essence.
I think Live on Long Island is a good one.
Okay.
Live on Long Island. That's a whole show,
Yeah.
Well, the one at Yankee Stadium, too. That was
Yankee Stadium, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, Mike B. Yankee Stadium, Mike B. Go do it.
Fantastic.
Well, Lib, we celebrate you because you've made such an impact on the drumming community and the music world as a whole. And you've taught us how to be that thoughtful drummer that has intention, the drummer that plays for the song, that plays for the artist. So you've really been our teachers. And you mentioned your early influences being your teacher, Ringo Starr, Dino Dinelli, Carmine Appice. And for me, you're one of my teachers. And that's why I put you, shameless plug, in my book as well, and dedicated, a page to what I learned from you. So I thank you for that.
Well, it's like when somebody comes up to Dom and says, I'm actually playing now. I got a group, we're touring and all this stuff. Thank you for teaching me what you taught me. And they do the same thing for you. Thank you for putting me in the right direction. And it's like, you just want to look at them and go, I was just doing what I love to do. That's all. That's all we do. We're just doing what we love to do.
But, Lib continues to do it with the Slim Kings. And I had a chance to hear the band at the Iridium, which was just incredible. And it was just unique sounds, typical Lib driving the band. So that's something else. I want everyone to go out and do the research, do the homework, pick up the music, pick up the albums, check out Slim Kings.
Are you guys?
And then we got the Lords of 52nd Street is myself, Richie Canada, and Russell Javers.
Yeah.
Right.
We go out and we do all the Billy songs that we played on.
Great. And are you guys going to be getting back out now that things are kind of going back to normal?
Oh yeah. The Slim Kings have done a few gigs already.
Great.
We started out doing the outdoor gigs, and now we've been inside. And the Lords play in Glen Cove actually on the July 30th.
Oh, that's awesome.
The first live Lords gig.
Great. Any other dates coming up that you want to mention?
Yeah, but I can't remember them now.
Man, I will say that I did my first gig back since July of last year, last night in Port Washington at the Landmark Theater. So it was so nice to be back in a theater type of environment, playing on stage for actual people sitting in an audience.
It's great. I just want to leave you with this one thing that happened to me once, and it was one of the greatest moments of my life. I played in. I used to do these camps, where we used to teach kids and stuff like that. But it was for families. They would come, and we would do them in in like Mexico and places like that, you know, in a hotel. We rent out the hotel and everything like that. And I played with an all-star band, you know, and each day a different member of the band, like one guy from 38 Special, another guy from Thin Lizzy, another guy, you know, all these guys like that. It was that kind of band. We would do a clinic once a day, right? My day came and they made posters, right? So I'm coming in to do my clinic and I get to the door and there's a poster today, Liberty DeVitto in clinic. And it's a picture of Dom Famularo on the poster.
What? Oh my God.
A phone call. He gets a message, his phone vibrates at like 4 o'clock in the morning. His wife's like going, who is calling you at 4 o'clock in the morning? Who is calling you? And there's this picture.
Oh my God.
Hysterically, man. It was so funny.
That is hilarious.
There was one point before we all went gray and before I shaved my, you know, because for a while I had the goatee and everything with Billy. But they just went through, you know, on the internet to find a picture of me, and they saw one that looked, well, it looks like him.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's
always
so
great
funny.
fun, Liv. Always great fun.
Always good fun. And you know, we're drummers. We love each other, and we take things like that. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
All right.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I will say, everybody go out and get the book, The Amazing Liberty Life, Billy in the Pursuit of Happiness. Get it in print, but also get it, the audiobook. Get it on Audible. So while I'm reading this, I actually have Lib reading me the book on Audible, which is just an amazing thing. So I like having both happening at the same time, but get both versions of it. It doesn't come with the green sticky notes, but it does come with that that code, so you can get the bonus material on hudsonmusic.com where this is available. So pick it up, and we thank you, Lib, for hanging out with us tonight. What an amazing time.
Also, I think September 23rd, it could be. I'm doing a book signing at the Cutting Room in Manhattan.
Oh, awesome.
And the Slim Kings are playing, and with special guest Ricky Byrd from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts and Christine Ullman.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
it'll be cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'll come to that for sure, man. I'll take Charmaine and we'll go in there. That'll be great to see.
I will be there. What's that
fun.
date again for the Cutting Room?
I think September 23rd, I think.
September 23rd. You heard it here, kids. September 23rd.
Let's all go there and we'll hang out the Cutting Room. That'll be it's a wonderful room, and we'll check out and hang out with Liv. That'll be fun.
Fantastic. Drinks are on Dom.
That's right. All right, man. Well, thanks for everybody that tuned in tonight in the chat. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you to Lib DeVitto and also Dom Famularo for crashing the party tonight. Thank you, Dom. And we'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a great night.
Fantastic.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.